I feel like I need to block everything out and stay focused on my goals. Take over the globe.
In a different mind state. I'm playing for keys like in the streets, I want it my way. Hey, fuck that state, we eating beef, we know that crime pay. They say we dogs and every dog gon' have his dying day. Rockin' that demon SRT, that big is sideways.
Welcome back to another video. We got a Demon 170 and a really fast Trackhawk, and here we got the owner, Cole, who is blessed enough to own both of these cars. I mean, what a dream garage. He also has a Mustang over here, and what else you got up there?
That's a 68 Hemi Charger. That's my mom's car.
Okay, cool. Wow, your mom's cool. But today's video is about these two high horsepower cars. These cars both make 4 digits. This one is 4 digits from the factory, and this one is 4 digits because he decided to pull out his checkbook and make it 4 digits. So I'm gonna need you to get in the middle of the video, and we're gonna break down what's done to this and, you know, what's done to this from the factory. So first, let's start out with the horsepower.
Okay, from the factory, this thing they claim a little over 700 to the crank. This thing, 1,025 to the crank from the factory. So you got a lot of difference there. The weight, 5,400 pounds, a behemoth, right? A lot of people would think you can't make a 5,400 pound SUV fast. And then this one weighs anywhere from about 41, 42, 43, depending on how you option the interior and the rims and tires.
Okay, now as far as transmission.
Same transmission. This one's just a little bit more beefy. So they both have a Z8, it's a ZF transmission. They're both 8 speeds. I believe this one is a ZF90. This is a ZF95 because it's all-wheel drive, and then it has a transfer case behind it.
And then gearing. This one has a 309, right?
309, and I believe this is like a 4 something. Don't quote me. Maybe like a 4.2. It's weird with it. I'm not 100% sure what the gearing is on this.
So here's my friend's pool, and as you can see, it's absolutely disgusting. It's full of dirt, and this used to be his old pool cleaner, but unfortunately it broke. So with the help of Poolmate, we got him a new pool cleaner. In the box we have the Poolmate 4 SE. It's pretty cool. It's literally like a robot that goes underwater and cleans your pool. So I'm gonna take it out and we're gonna talk a little bit about it. With the Poolmate, you get a S-shaped cleaning path, which is enabled by the Hydro Curve intelligent algorithm, ensuring a thorough and efficient cleaning across the pool's floor, walls, and water line. So before we put this thing into use, I just want to show you guys how light it is by picking it up with literally one hand. This robot is super light. I mean, I literally have it lifted with one finger. Now let me show you guys how easy it is to get this thing working. So you're gonna take this and remove it, and we're gonna take this hose and plug it in, then we screw it on, and then we plug it in for power, and now we flip the switch to on. Now we're gonna go to the Poolmate app, and as you can see, we got it all connected, and it was super easy to connect. As soon as you download the app, it recognizes that this was turned on, and then it will be connected. And then here are all the different modes. You could also do custom mode. Now we're gonna put this thing to work. So I think you're just supposed to put it in the water, and then we're gonna go to the app. As you can see, we selected ultra clean, and basically now it's gonna go to work. All right, as you guys can see, it's literally moving and it's cleaning. If you guys remember, this whole area was dirty, and like, watch the path it's working. You see how it was dirty except the path that it's driving on? That's because it's picking the dirt up as it's moving. The robot's been at it for about 30 minutes, and it's almost done cleaning this entire pool. I'm gonna get it out the water real quick just so I could show you guys the dual side filter opening. So here is where the filter is. Okay, so you could open it from this side and that side. Look at all the dirt it collected. Oh my god, look, this is all disgusting dirt. Was all at the bottom of the pool. You could also open it from this side. Alright, look at that. So you can open it from the bottom or the top. Look at all the dirt that this thing picked up. As you've seen, it was brand new when we put it in the pool, and now it's, I mean, cleaned the pool. It's only been at it for 30 minutes. You could already see it's pretty much clean. I want to also mention that it has deep sea technology motors, which utilizes advanced motors originally designed for underwater robots. These units are built to withstand water pressure up to 200 meters, engineered to operate in high salt and high chlorine environment. They significantly extend the robot's operational lifespan and ensure long-term efficiency. So if you have a pool and need a pool cleaner, be sure to check out Poolmate. They got many different models. This one is the 4SE, and as you've seen, it does one heck of a job, and I highly recommend it. I'm gonna leave their link in the description below. Be sure to check them out. Your motor is obviously not stock. This motor is stock. So let's first talk about the Demon 170 motor. What makes it stronger than a Hellcat motor, or even the Red Eye motors, or even the previous gen Demon?
Yeah. So let me pop the hood for you real quick, and you can get a better representation about the Demon 170 and what makes this a special car.
Look how beautiful this is. The color is called Sublime Green, which is super bright, and it just pops.
So if you see right here, alcohol injected. I don't know if your camera will pick that up.
Right there, you guys
alcohol
see
injected. Me too. So
you're not drunk for this video, are you?
I should be. So right off rip, bigger supercharger than anything Mopar's ever put on anything. This is a 3.0. So the Red Eye and the 2018 Demons, they have a 2.7, a regular Hellcat 2.4. So that's one thing they did different. A lot of people rumor that there's a different cam in here than a regular Hellcat, but the internals are also different, which is why some of these Demon 170 engines have problems. I have my own theories about that, but if you come in here too, there's one thing that makes it unique. I don't want to say that it makes it better, but that's a yellow block.
Right there,
and that
you guys can see it.
They're representing the ethanol, the corn, it being yellow. There's also a yellow jewel. So like on the Red Eyes, they have a red jewel. For the Demon 170 badge, it's supposed to be a yellow jewel. So just a cool little detail there. This also does have a chiller from the factory. It does okay. It doesn't get temp super cold. There's some things I could probably do to make it run a little bit cooler, but yeah.
Now as far as motor, is it built way more built than, you know, a Hellcat or the previous gen Demon?
Way more built. That's the problem with Dodges. They don't release stuff like, say, like they did for the 2003 and 4 Cobra, Terminator Cobras. Ford lets you know that it had manly H-beam or I-beam rods. Mopar will say, hey, it's got special this, special that, but they really won't go into detail. I heard a rumor that there's some kind of copper crank bearing or something like that, like special bearings. I'm assuming that they upgraded the internals, rods, pistons, wrist pins, stuff like that to handle this much more power. I've had this car for about 3 weeks now, and I've got on it a few times. I think it probably makes close to 1,000 to the wheel, to be honest with you. When I first got this car, it did a lot of spinning. I did some things to help it not spin, and now that it hooks, I've had cars pull up to me on the highway, and we'll hit it in Mexico from, say, like a 60. I'll spin, and normally when a car gets out in front of you, it's donezo. Like, you have to have a high horsepower car to run that car down, but this thing has been able to do it to where this thing will spin, hook, and then reel that person back in Mexico, of course.
Got it. Now let's talk about your Trackhawk. I know the motor in this is definitely not stock. You want to pop the hood and kind of talk about what's done to the motor, or is that a secret? Not a secret.
It's not a real big secret. I go over everything that I've ever done with this Trackhawk on my channel, so if you want to learn how to spend
a lot of money, which we'll get to that later in the video, the cost between these two is day and night difference.
So this is a special engine. Shout out to Demon TKM, because that's what this has, a Demon TKM 426 Gen 3 Hemi. That's what's sitting underneath here. It's got the Model valve covers. Shout out to them. They're my sponsor, modelwork.com. And what's really special about this is this Kong 2650 right here. Shout out to Greg Kong for making this. This is still pretty brand new to the market. Not a lot of people have this blower. A lot of people are going back and forth. This Trackhawk before had a Whipple, but we wanted to try something different. Nobody really knew about these Kong 2650s. People were saying, no, it's only a 2650. That's the same thing as a Hellcat Red Eye supercharger. But let me tell you, This thing is on another level. It's a really, really special. Without going into too much crazy detail, this package is crazy. This is a Model Works intake. It's just a bell housing, just an open mouth housing. Really special. I have a lot of things done to this engine.
Question real quick, sorry to cut you off. As far as motor, is it built?
Oh yeah, it's built. So this has boost line rods. It has, what crank is in here? I'm drawing a blank. I know it. I used to know this thing like the back of my hand, but now that I've fallen in love with the Demon, I've kind of let, you know, getting old, my brain's getting to me. But it's got an upgraded crank, not the factory Mopar crank. It'll come to me eventually. And then it's also got a special cam in here. So I don't know if Ron's gonna put any video of this thing running. This thing's got a big old cam in here that chops like crazy when it's warmed up, and it flows a lot of air. It also has AFR heads. These AFR heads are really special. I mean, this motor, besides having like a dart block is like creme de la creme. I mean, this is it. If you want Mopar performance, 426, Demon TKM, AFR heads, there's other places that make billet heads, but these AFR heads are really special too.
How much power does it handle?
I haven't had it on the dyno, but I've
Not the car, like the motor. How much can it handle?
Over 1,500.
Okay.
For how long, nobody knows. There's a lot more you could do to this engine that I don't have done. This isn't sleeved, so it's not sleeved. You could have it sleeved. You could get this thing half filled, which adds more strength to the block. So there's a few other things. This doesn't have a billet crank. You could put a billet crank in here, you could sleeve it, and you could half fill it with whatever they fill it with, and it makes the block stronger.
And then you also have an ice box here?
Yes. So a lot of people go with the Cords tank. That's real popular on these Trackhawks, but this is a Model Work tank. And this tank is way better. It holds more fluid, but it also, like for those of you who don't know, with the Cords tank, you can only fit one singular intake, and it's a leg maker intake. Nothing against a leg maker intake. It's a great intake, but a leg maker intake is not gonna make as much power as this bell mouth housing from Model Work.
How much was this right here?
I forget how much it was. They hooked me up on it because, you know, them being a sponsor.
I should run this, right? Would it help me with getting more power or
It
no?
would help you with getting more power.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about the Kong 2650 is this is a 130 millimeter throttle body or inlet. So you can run 130 millimeter throttle body. So along with this coolant tank, if you look down right here, you can kind of see a little stuff going on right here.
Yeah, I see a bunch of random stuff happening. What's all that about?
The Demon 170 has a chiller from factory. This is an aftermarket FI chiller. So
you have a chiller and an ice box?
Yes.
Ooh.
So this gets to below freezing temperatures to where I'll pull over on the side of the road and this will be iced. There'll be like a sheet of ice on here where I can scratch it off. That's how cold this thing gets. That's why I was saying like the Demon 170 is good. It'll get temps down to like 38 on a real cool night if you're babying it for a while, but this thing will get down to like 28 lower. You know, it's really insane. So.
And then question, this was 130
meter throttle body.
Okay, ported snout from Kong.
Well, it just comes that big.
Comes that big, okay. And then you have upper, lower, and then here is your oil catch can, which is a very fancy oil catch can.
So what a lot of people don't know when you get up to higher horsepower ranges with these Hellcat engines is they build a lot of crankcase pressure. And a lot of these, I don't want to start naming names, but a lot of these companies that make a catch can, they're usually like a single vent to one passenger valve cover. They're over here or they're in front of the supercharger. They're just not doing a good enough job, and you can create a lot of problems from too much crankcase pressure, which these Model Work valve covers, these are a huge upgrade. They don't add any power, but they prevent a lot of problems when you get up into higher horsepower range. So this is a dual breather, as you can see. It goes from this valve cover and this valve cover to this. And sometimes you'll see it when it's cold, like puffs of smoke coming out of here. And that's all the crankcase pressure pumping out of it. Because when you got a 426, you're adding a lot of compression. And then when you got a Kong 2650 with a 2.5 upper and a 10% lower, you're adding a lot more boost coming into this motor.
Now let's talk about power of this versus the power of this. This is obviously 100% stock from factory. You want to come over here and kind of talk to us about how much power that makes?
So yeah, so you want to talk about the power of the Trackhawk?
We'll talk about the Trackhawk after. Let's talk about this because it's stock.
Okay, yeah. So like I said, they've stated that it makes 1,025 horsepower at the crank. I think it makes a little bit more, but yeah, that's basically, you get what you pay for. 1,025
on E85.
That's the thing, right? You have to run these on E85. It can be up to like, I think it's like E77, maybe E75, where it'll give you full power. But this thing's so smart that it'll be able to tell you what ethanol percentage you have in there from the factory. It's got that sensor, right? With the Trackhawk, I had to add a little something, but this will read it automatically and adjust your tune on the fly. So when you get below a certain amount of ethanol percentage, it'll cut that power until you're back up in that good.
And how much power does it make on 93?
That's the thing I don't know. I know it does neuter it. It doesn't say on the dash how much power it makes, but it just tells you it's not at full power, and you shouldn't run these when you have 93 in there.
Okay, and as far as your Trackhawk, is it on flex fuel or is it just on straight up E85?
This thing is on straight up E85, and I try to put the best E85 ethanol I can put in here. I actually had to get a barrel over here. This is a 54-gallon barrel of ethanol 1R. It's 117 octane, and it tests out at 98% ethanol. So it's a really, really great fuel if you're on a only ethanol tune, and that's what I try to add on there if I'm trying to run a 0 to 60 record, which I recently just did on my channel. I posted the Kong video doing 60 to 130 in Mexico, and it was, the times were crazy.
Okay, now let's talk about some more numbers. So this 0 to 60 does what?
On a prep track, they say it runs low 2s.
Have you gotten that? Because I know you've taken this into the track.
Heck no.
What's the best you've gotten?
I didn't do a draggy. I didn't have the draggy hooked up when I took to the track, but I mean, it was probably like 4 seconds. I had a terrible time because this thing's so crazy smart and so crazy complicated. You really need to know this car before you take it to the drag strip, right? Like, you need to know how to use the line lock. You know how to use the trans brake. You need to know how to use the launcher control. So there's a lot of things that I didn't know how to use, so not the best outing for the D170.
So 1.9 is what they claimed. Now, do you think you could get there one day?
If I lost a little bit of weight here, you know, if I lost a little bit of weight and I took the passenger seat out, I think it could. I think the times that Dodge posted was accurate. A lot of people, the problem with the 2018 Demons is they posted this time and nobody could ever reach that, which made a lot of people question Dodge. Maybe they put a hot tune-up in the 2018 Demons, but for the 2023 Demon 170, people are being able to back up the numbers or run better than what Dodge did, because like I said, a lot of people are doing super secret things to take weight out and adding weight and making these hook and run better.
Now, what about this? All-wheel drive, you have a whole new wheel setup, which we will compare, but actually, let's start comparing them. So you have here, you have a Mickey. This is a 245, 55, 18. It's a skinny, but not your normal skinny. I mean, it's a semi-skinny, I would say. And then this one is a 275, 40, 20. So this is a 20, and then this is an 18. And then back here, look at this. You have the bead locks. These are 315, 50, 17. Super tall tire, super wide. And then here you have...
Well, here, these aren't exactly stock. So let's show you the stock ones.
Yeah, these are the stock ones that come on the Demon, which are the 315, 50, 17. These are the same that you have on your Trackhawk.
I drove this thing back from Florida in the rain on the ET Street R, and I never had a problem. I mean, I kept it under the speed limit. These are great, but they're a way more radical, drastic tire. But one thing about these rims, right? These are aluminum. You could get carbon fiber rims from the factory.
Now, do they look like these, or they're just a different style?
They look exactly the same. They're just carbon fiber on the barrels, and they have a... You know, they got a lot more carbon fiber, and they're a lot less, they weigh a lot less. So that's how Dodge is able to run that crazy number. That's, what do they call it? Like, you have stagnant weight in a car, right? And then you have rotational weight. It's always more beneficial to lose rotational weight because That's more stress. It's harder to get a big wheel turning as opposed to a light wheel.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the 0 to 60 on this. This, they claim 1.9. He's not gotten 1.9 at the track, but he'll make some adjustments and he'll probably get somewhere close to that. Now this thing makes, well, horsepower I don't think we covered. And you said you haven't dynoed it, but what do you estimate this thing to be, you know?
We're projecting from the 60 to 130 time that it makes about 1485 to the wheels.
1485 to the wheels.
Now,
so like that's a huge difference between these two.
Now to really prove that number, I'm gonna have to take it to the track, and that's what we're waiting on right now. We're just waiting to take it to the track. Hopefully in the next video too, it'll be at the track and we'll be able to back up those numbers and make them concrete.
Got it. So what's the fastest 0 to 60 you've went in this thing?
I think the fastest 0 to 60 was a 2.27
on the street.
On the street in cold weather. I've
Wow.
never been able to run this thing in the heat of summer, and I've never been able to run this thing on new tires. My other tires I just changed to these brand new Mickey Thompson ET Street R's. The tires I had on here before were bald and had thread showing. So a bald slick with thread showing ran a 2.27. So
on the street. Were you spinning a little bit?
I think I was spinning a little bit for the most part. We pulled up enough power to get it to almost dead hook. But this thing can run sub 2 on the street. I know it can. I just got to get a nice warm day, heat these tires up, and then send it. But I know it'll run sub 2.
What are these supposed to do in a quarter mile?
So these are supposed to run 8.9 in a quarter mile.
Okay, and how many people have ran that?
Believe it or not, a lot of people have ran that. Like I said, I'm not the best racer because I'm like 220 plus, so I'm not the best guy to have in this seat. And people have been able to back it up. Like I said, what Dodge tells people these things can do, they can do.
What did you run when you went to the track?
10-1. Horrible.
10-1.
Couldn't figure out the line lock, was rushed. It was a horrible outing, but now I know the car a lot better, and we're going to have a lot better outcome.
Now, what do you think this car is capable of? I know you've not taken it to the track, but what would you estimate that it can go at this power level? What do you think?
We're estimating that this thing can get into the 8s.
Wow. Low or high?
High 8s.
High 8s. Do you know miles per hour?
We're guessing somewhere a little bit south of 160, and that's why I have the parachute on the back of here.
Oh, yeah.
The last time I took this to the track, it was a lot slower, and it ran a 148 and some change at the quarter. So those of you that don't know, you need to run a parachute at 150 miles an hour. So I still have to run my cable and do everything like that, but right now it's just for looks. All I have to do is run the cable for the next time we go to the track.
So do you just press a button or something, or like?
So it's this level right here. So you hook this under or to the center console, right?
Yeah.
And then here's your lever. It comes up on the passenger seat, and you just pull back on it,
okay.
and the chute releases.
That's simple.
And this is also a little something special too. So one of the things that we're gonna do here is we're gonna run this filter, and you're probably asking yourself, why would you run this filter if if this is gonna make more horsepower? But what we're gonna end up doing is taking this hood off, turning this around, and running this filter like a velocity stack to see how it does. Because having cars is all about experimentation, right?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna face it forward and see how it runs. But then what we're also gonna do at the track is turn this forward with the hood off and run it open mouth housing. Hopefully we don't suck up a bird, seagull, or something, or someone's baby at the track.
That would not be good.
And then we're really gonna see what we run. Because if you see a lot of fast cars, they run an open bell mouth housing facing the front so you can get as much wind in there, kind of like a WS6 Trans Am, how they had the double hood scoop. So
yeah,
I can't wait to experiment with what this thing's gonna do this year.
Also, one more thing when it comes to this, 60 to 130 times, what do these do? Are they in the like low 5s?
I don't know. That's a good question. I need to make a 60 to 130 video on this. Like I said, I've already done a 60 to 130 about the Trackhawk, and it was crazy.
So what was the Trackhawk 60 to 130?
I'm not telling. I'll make people earn that one. If you want to know the 60 to 130 time, I know a lot of people are going to be unhappy with that, but you just go to my video, fast forward through it if you want to, and it'll be right there. But it's a great video, and that Kong 2650 is really impressive. I think I sold like the whole Hellcat community on the 2650.
Is it in the 4s?
It is in the 4s.
Okay.
It's really impressive. I had a lot of people that want to race me. A lot of people call me out and want to race me, and I'm like, you're calling out a guy that shows his times, right? So I had a lot of people trying to race me, and then when I posted the Kong 2650 times, it was crickets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I'm not a guy, like, I bought a car not to like be the fastest guy or beat you or beat that next guy. That's not what makes me feel good. I bought a car and modded it so I could have fun with my friends. If somebody was to if I had a friend and they were to get butthurt about losing, I'd just be like, you can win every time. I'll let you win every time. Because I'm out here trying to do this for fun and for entertainment for YouTube. That's why I started the Cold Dash YouTube channel. And that's what I try to do. But you got a lot of people out here that are like serious racers that just want to beat another guy so they can go home and feel good. And I think that's what makes the racing community toxic. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people can disagree with me. If you want to race and make money, whatever, that's not what I'm doing it for. I'm not racing to make money. I'm just racing to have fun and make friends. And that's what it's about for me. You know, like,
No.
I'd rather have a good friend like Ron than, you know, beat him in a race and him pay me 5 or 10 grand. Like, I can call on Ron for a favor if I really need it, and he'll be there for me, you know? So.
Also, the last thing we're going to talk about is the price difference between these two. You know, kind of what you got this for, what you got this for, how much money you have in this, how much money you have in this.
So I bought this in 2020, maybe 21, for 80 grand. Just under 80 grand, it's like 79 some change, right? But I obviously threw a lot of money into this thing. It's been through about 2 or 3 engines. It went through the stock engine. Something went wrong with that. Then it's been through 2 built engines. Now that it has this engine in there. So just do the math.
How many transmissions?
I've had 1 transmission failure, but Simple, shout out to them. They're like, hey, sometimes it's happened. I got it down there. They had it back to me in like a week or 2 so quick. So great company. Didn't charge me anything. I think I paid a little bit for shipping and handling, but yeah, my stock transmission held, but I just wanted to get it built because we were pushing the power level. So if I was never to go through the built engines and if I was just to build it one time and everything lasts, a transmission for this from Simple with the T case is around 13,000, give or take. It might have came up, it might have went down. They did just put a billet input shaft they're gonna put. They're first to the market with that billet input shaft, so it's something really crazy. Everybody needs a billet input shaft if you're racing on these ZF transmissions. So the engine, 25, you know, if you want to pay for installation, labor will take this skyrocket, but just call it like 60 or 70 grand because it's got axles, the fuel system, you know, that's not cheap. 2150 injectors, the valve cover's not cheap, the supercharger's not cheap. Everything on a Mopar is
How much
expensive.
is that upgraded 2650?
I think they go for high 6,000.
And is the price you said 60 to 70, is that including labor?
No.
Include labor in that. Like, give me an actual figure if someone wants to go build a 15-wheel horsepower car that makes, you know, all that power, runs low 4s, 60 to 130, 0 to 60, you know, 2.2 seconds. What do you think it would cost on top of the car?
With everything that it has done, because people are just going to think built motor, built transmission, it doesn't cost that much to put it on there. But I want to remind everybody, it's like $175 per hour for labor. Some shops charge more than that, right? And then you got to think about all the little things like the fuel system, the injectors, the axles. Like if you have everybody do that, I'm lucky enough to know how to do that stuff. So I've done all the suspension work. There's a ton of suspension work stuff done to this car from AAD. Performance, so I've done all that myself, but call it 100 grand to have a truck like this if you pay somebody to do it all for you, which is not what I recommend.
Is that including the broken stuff you've had?
No.
So include, which there's gonna be failures. You're not gonna build this car this way the first time around. You're probably gonna go through a bunch of failures, and that's part of racing. So include 2 messed up motors and a trans that I know Simple took care of it, but let's say it's a different company and they didn't want to take care of it. What would you say you're all into this car?
Just add $20,000 to $25,000 for each engine. Okay, just add
Wow. So you are in it probably for $150,000.
Yeah, try not to talk about
Yeah.
that. It's a sore subject. I don't really like to bring it up, but yeah.
But do you regret anything you've done now that you've built it? It's taken years. I know some days it's made you sad, and some days it's made you happy. Now, do you regret anything you've done?
I mean, the reaction I get when people drive it are riding this thing is priceless, right? The money's the hard part. What I tell everybody is to stay where Ron's at. What I say is 8 to 900 wheel safe. Ron's making 1,000 to the wheel. That he's taking a little bit of risk, but you're also having a little bit more fun. I tell everybody to stay between 8 and 900 to the wheels with these. It's plenty fast and they're reliable at that power level.
Absolutely.
If I could go back, I don't know if I would push this thing this far, but I'm in too deep to dig myself out. So it just further and further and further. But
And then the wheels, did you even mention those as part of the price?
no, I didn't.
These are what,
So,
like $8 grand?
Yeah, they're expensive. I was lucky enough to find them used on Facebook Marketplace. I got a good deal on them. I paid $4 grand, but like I said,
Not
the
bad.
tires were pretty much shot. But
Yeah.
I did roll with them for, you know, the end of the season. You know, they did me okay for like one track day and touring around town.
Okay.
But yeah, if you were to buy these brand new, I think these wheels are like $7 or $8 grand brand new.
Beautiful. Now, as far as the Demon 170, it's stock, so there are no modifications besides some tires, but we're not gonna count those. What do these go for? Do you mind telling us kind of the area you paid for it?
So these go for anywhere from, I'm seeing them sell for like 100, and maybe you can find a deal. A deal for one of these would be like 135,000. They go up to, you know, 185. People ask crazy numbers for these, especially if it's a carbon fiber rim car. So I should talk about the price of the carbon fiber rims.
Yeah, let's
This
talk
is
about
actually a carbon fiber rim car.
Is it?
The guy that I bought this from bought 2 sets of rims with it, because most people that buy a carbon fiber rim car and drive their vehicle around, they don't drive around on the carbon fiber rims. So what he did is he bought another set of stock aluminum wheels. So he told me that I could buy those wheels off him for 15 grand.
Yeah, time to go kick rocks.
I really don't think $15,000 is a bad amount of money to pay for these, but the problem is that I'm not going to do anything with the carbon fiber wheels. I'm going to do a 15-inch conversion in the rear to make this thing really hook on the street and at the track, and I'm going to be putting even skinnier tires up front.
So you don't have them right now. These
don't
are not the carbon ones, right?
No, these are aluminum. And a lot of people have questioned me about that. They say, hey, you need to get them. You need to get them just to have them. And I'm like, my reply to them is, hey, give me 15 grand and they'll be hanging up like my stock Trackhawk wheels.
Right.
Those are my stock Trackhawk wheels. They're just sitting up there collecting dust. They do nothing for me. And, you know, I don't run on an unlimited budget. You may look at this garage and say, this guy's got a bunch of money, more money than he wants to do this. But that Charger's my mom's car. The Mustang's a cheap payment. And I'm in debt on both of these cars. I have payments, but I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I grew up with not a lot, so I want to have stuff now. So to be a little bit in debt, as long as I can make the payment, it's worth it to me. Some people don't like to be in debt, but like I said, I grew up not having much when other kids did. So now I'm gonna have what I want.
And I fully respect that. Let's get what the price of this car is.
Okay.
I know it's not cheap. It's obviously a lot more than the Trackhawk
So
stock.
if you were to buy this car with the carbon fiber wheels, you probably look at paying about 180 to 185,000. That's what people are asking for those.
You obviously got a better deal, I would assume.
I did get a better deal than that. I got hooked up because the guy I bought it from was a Vietnam veteran. Shout out to Dr. Pogue. He hooked me up because I'm a veteran as well. I don't know if you've seen the Purple Heart plate on the Trackhawk, but you know, he gave me a veteran-to-veteran deal. That's why I tell everybody it's worth it to sacrifice at least a couple years of your life to join the military, because we're like a brotherhood, and you know, you get hooked up on a lot of things. It can really, this is what I tell everybody is, sacrifice when you're younger. I'm not some, you know, trust fund baby or anything. I sacrificed a lot to have this stuff. I'm just now getting to enjoy it. So I always tell people, sacrifice when you're younger and you can afford it, right? Because when you're older, you don't want to sacrifice when you're older. You want to be able to enjoy things. And I sacrificed a lot of my life. I almost died a few times when I was deployed. So I'd like to think that I earned this stuff.
Well, thank you for your service and congrats on these two. The last thing I want to do is I want to start both of these. This one is stock, obviously. This one is cammed.
Yes.
I think people are gonna go insane when you hear how beautiful this thing sounds.
Well, and the 426 too. With the 426, you got a lot more. This is 10 to 5. We didn't cover this, but this stock Hellcat engine, 9 to 5 to 1 compression. This one, 10.5 to 1 compression. And a little bit bigger of a supercharger makes it sound, a blower car always sounds meaner.
for that one, I needed earplugs. I didn't think I would, but believe it or not, while that thing was on, I was hearing it as if I don't have any earplugs.
Oh.
It is so loud, it's insane. You're right, I probably did need those earplugs, otherwise I would have lost my
long tube headers and free flowing exhaust.
So
it's a custom exhaust that I had designed myself. I tried a few different things and then we settled with this. I thought about putting side pipes on the thing, but
that would be cool.
It would be cool, but then like every time I started next to everything, it would blow the E85 water vapor all over everything. And
yeah, sounds good.
I mean, I already get pulled over enough in this thing.
But anyways, y'all, this was a little comparison between a 1500 wheel horsepower Jeep Trackhawk. I mean, this has all the bells and whistles. Everything you could possibly do, he's done it. And then you have the stock Demon 170 right here. And, you know, stock. You know, it's a 1,025 horsepower car from the factory. I don't know if you want to call that stock. But let me know, which one would you go with? Would you rather just have the 1,025 horsepower Demon 170? It's pretty fast. It does its thing. And it also has a warranty. That's the best part. Or do you want the Trackhawk, which is an SUV? You could tow with it. You have a parachute. But it'll cost you about $150,000 in modifications, not including the car. But you don't do the sport, obviously, as an investment. It's for fun, and he enjoys it. You know, I see the smile on his face when he's talking about this car. And that's why people do it. It's not a good financial decision, but it's an emotional decision for your happiness, essentially. So let me know, which would you rather have, the Trackhawk or the Demon 170?